When you think about 2024, what were the big breakthroughs in AI?
But HeyGen is targeting the idea of making content and multiply your content. There's a good way to use ChatGPT and then there's a really good way to use ChatGPT.
What's up and welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Video Blueprint Podcast. Katie Day here with my lovely co-host, Timothy Macy. We are excited to welcome our guest to the show today, Jason Pantana, who needs no introduction. What's going on, man?
Chilling, having fun, hanging out with Katie and Tim.
You know,
that was a weird first answer. We'll get better.
I wish everyone could be that lucky. That was a little weird. So I hope that's not the route that we're going on today, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Tim, I did mute you just by the way. So if you do want to talk, you need to unmute yourself.
Well, I appreciate it.
For the facial, animation.
I don't know if you guys ever have those type of relationships in your life where you get used to being able to mute somebody on Zoom and then you see them in person and you kind of wish you still had a mute button, you know? That's Katie and I for sure. But Jason, we're excited to have you on. I don't know where we're going to take this conversation, but we've spent a lot of time talking to you about AI. You've been really kind of one of the leaders in the industry on diving into how agents are using it, how they could be using it, and kind of what to look out for in the future. And so with that being said, like when you think about 2024, what were the big breakthroughs in AI in 2024, and then we'll kind of set the table for what we think it's going to look like in 2025.
Yeah. So if you even go back before 2024 and you look at like, we first started talking about it end of 2022, 2023, we especially started talking about it because that's when ChatGPT became prevalent and everybody was using it. And the tools just keep getting better. When you think about where we've seen the biggest breakthroughs, some of the amazing releases and features that I've seen is, I think, advanced voice mode, which ChatGPT has the ability to have conversation, has sprung to life all kinds of innovation. Tom Ferry has a role play simulation. Other companies have role play simulation. So in the context of real estate, I think being able to practice scripts and dialogues with an AI is a really powerful dialogue to have. So I think the advanced voice mode. And when you go back to generative AI, one of the original concepts was, what if one day we could talk to machines the way we talk to people and have that natural language processing? Old school computer programmers, it was ones and zeros, and they were telling the machine how to behave. And now we're dealing with advanced systems and architectures that let us just talk to it. It's a whole new way of computing. Sam Altman, he's the CEO of OpenAI. He said when advanced voice mode came out, he would just leave his phone open and talk to it. It's a whole new way of computing. And so I think that the advanced voice mode is a major feature. Another innovation I've seen is just the ability to quickly summarize and learn. So I'm thinking about, what are y'all laughing at? You're like smiling at me all funny.
This is just my podcast face.
That was your podcast. Yeah. Katie, I'm like, what is wrong?
No, I was part of what I was laughing on is like, we're like, what do you think? And then it's like, because you've done such a deep dive on AI, you go from like 0 to 100 on AI so quickly.
I just have
that's why I think that's why Chip was laughing too.
I think advanced voice mode is really cool. I think that tools that can help you learn faster. So one that's been really exciting lately is Notebook LM, which is a Google product. It has other companies like HeyGen has the same function that I'm going to explain, and so does 11 Labs. It's called Gen FM. But basically all you do is say, hey, I want a podcast on demand. I'm going to give it this YouTube video, here's a Google Doc, here's a PDF, and you just mix all your contents together, and it will in real time generate a podcast with co-host, like a male and a female that go back and forth, and you can listen to it, and it's predicated on your content alone. HeyGen's actually doing on-demand video podcasts where they have their video avatars, which is still a little bit stiff looking, but just the ability to custom learn whatever I want. If I want to go deeper on a specific topic, I could take every single one of my This Week in Marketing podcast if I was that narcissistic and wanted to listen to myself.
We know you are.
Yeah, well,
he's actually already done it.
I've done it 3 times. It's on repeat. Just kidding. Anyways, that's a really cool innovation. Another feature that I'm really impressed with is we're obviously seeing a lot of innovation when it comes to generative video. So a text prompt that creates a video output. Sora, which is OpenAI's newest model, just came out, and it's like making your own little mini movie. The ability to tell it, I want, I don't know, a cat floating into outer space with a rocket ship on its back.
How did you know that's what I need for B-roll? How did you know that's what I need for B-roll for my next video?
So you have 2 to pick from. Well, you have more than 2. Lots of companies have been amazingly innovative with generative video, but Sora is the newest one, and VEO just came out, VEO, which is Google's. So they're going to kind of go toe-to-toe with generative AI video, but there's other players. Runway has been the favorite. Luma Labs, Pika, There's been so many. So I think video creation for B-roll. Tim, I don't mean to have a long-winded answer, but you brought me on your podcast and sort of knew it.
This is what we brought you here for, is long-winded answers.
Just to filibuster.
We asked one question and then Jason just talked for 45
Well, there's so many. I got to tell you, video editing is getting easier and easier too. I mean, here we are in the REVB podcast, and video editing, CapCut has more and more features every day. Descript has more and more features every day. Captions AI, more and more every day.
So one question for you with CapCut. If TikTok goes away and TikTok owns CapCut, do you think CapCut will still be, or will CapCut also go away?
I don't know the corporate ownership structure on that. That's a good question. I don't know. And I was on a podcast last week and I was asked to make a prediction on if TikTok goes away or not. And I just don't know how to predict that. I mean, this has been a sure thing and then not a sure thing, back and forth. And so I'm just not going to bet on this. I know a lot of people are using TikTok. I just can't predict that.
When I think back to 24, for me, it was the year that I just saw a lot more people start using ChatGPT every single day. Like it started to become an assistant for people.
That's right.
Far more than it was in 23.
And I would suggest that I've been using this dialogue a lot when I'm talking to people in terms of how they're using it. And I don't mean this to be like egotistical, but I think a lot of people have hardly cracked the surface of what it's capable of doing. I mean, think about how most people use Google. They don't know if you use a minus, it can remove a keyword from your search. They don't know all the advanced ways to use Google. Some people do, but many don't. And it limits their ability to use the tool. And I would say like right now is a really good time to figure out the capabilities of ChatGPT, because it is powerful when it's customized to you.
And I will say, even Google, you bring up a good point. I Google things less and less, and I'm spending a lot more time just asking AI for the answers as opposed to going to Google something.
So that's a big topic I've been discussing a lot in my AI Marketing Academy. It's called Deep Search. And there's two ways of looking at it. One is deep search is the act of using a generative AI like ChatGPT or Perplexity, or actually Google has their AI overview built into Google search. I saw a stat yesterday that 47% of searches, I think it was SEO, it was either Journal or SEMrush, one of them did a post about it. 47% of Google searches are AI overviews. So they're getting a generative search too, but that's all called deep search, where the idea of going on a scavenger hunt to try to find what you're looking for on Google, where you click links, is it there? I hit Command F to go find the word on the page. Oh, can't find it. And then I go back and I do it again and again. That's just inefficient when it comes to search, versus a generative AI just synthesizes the answer for you right there. And then it cites its sources. We've been talking a lot about, okay, not just how do you use it for search, but how do you rank in those searches as cited sources? And what we're noticing is, if you look at the data, it's not just that they're Googling less, it's that they're searching more specifically. So there's broad searches versus what are called long tail searches that are much longer keywords. They're longer expressions, super specific questions. And in the past, people were sort of conditioned not to search those types of phrases because there wasn't a lot of content that would be relevant to what they're looking for. But now we're noticing with AI, you are getting relevant content to anything you ask, no matter how specific. So what we're coaching clients to do is, hey, blogging, YouTube videos, you should get hyper specific. What are the longest searches that are the most needle in haystack searches that somebody might go looking for, and you create content for it? And when you think about like a seller or a buyer in the real estate space, they tend to ask more specific questions when they're almost ready to go, when they're more mature.
Yeah.
And so if you're creating content that's really in sync with those really specific questions, you're right there at that final mile. So there's an opportunity.
Well, and so someone who said this the other day, it just really resonated with me, is Paul Wolfert was on the podcast, and he does a lot of long form stuff, and he's been on YouTube for a while, and he's doing more short form now of like the talking head style, reporting the news kind of thing. And he was like, he has his wide videos that cast the wide net. And then he has all of these super specific videos that are the ones that bring in the business. And I'm like, okay, it changed my mind on kind of the what to do for content. Of like, okay, here, like for every one wide net video, then I need to do 3 that are super specific of like, this is the neighborhood and the thing and that they would search when they're like, okay, I need to find an agent or I'm ready to sell my house. So that's interesting. You mentioned the generative video and like using it for B-roll and things like that. I'd love to get your take. And Tim, I think you're aware of this. Malcolm Lawson, YouTuber, he has hundreds of thousands of subscribers across multiple channels. he recently has kind of like not parked his living in Maryland channel, like his real estate channel of talking head style real estate videos, right? But he's now using HeyGen to create videos, talking head videos. And his goal is to create a video of like the pros and cons or living in this city, living in Brentwood, right? A neighborhood in Nashville, for every single like town in Maryland. There's like hundreds, right?
Right.
What are your thoughts?
But hold on, just for some more context. I believe he is putting into ChatGPT and saying, hey, I'm doing this, most important things about living in Maryland video. Can you write me the script? And then he's just taking the AI generated script and putting it into HeyGen. And so like when he says AI is making this video, AI is making almost all of this video.
So in his defense, I think that he's using his VA and he's using a little bit of, hey, use these stats, but he may also just be pulling them from the MLS and dropping them into ChatGPT.
And this isn't in his defense. He is experimenting, right? Like he's knowingly just giving this thing a shot and seeing how it goes.
I have a question. Did he do it on a new channel or is he using his existing channel?
He's using the existing living in Maryland channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Which he had built up an audience on, but then he kind of let it fizzle.
Yeah, he's an innovator. I actually think we'll see how it goes. I think it might be brilliant. That's my honest reaction. And here's where I'm coming from when I say that. I am all about your brand. Your brand is your face, your voice, your mind, your heart. I've said that for years. Anybody who follows me knows that. I believe real estate is a know you, like you, trust you business. I believe we're going to hear a lot about faceless content. I tend to think that there's a place for faceless content and there's a place for face-in content. To me, AI is all about more, faster, better. It needs to achieve all three. Is doing the HeyGen videos like Malcolm's doing necessarily making it better? No, not necessarily, but it's certainly making more of it and making it faster. There's a lot of predictions. This is the time of year where everybody's making their predictions for next year in 2025. And a lot of people are talking about AI influencers will be on the rise. It's going to be a big topic. I do think, and I asked the question about, does he have a separate channel? Because my instinct would have been to create a new channel. Probably not park the first one, but start a new channel and try to play into the trend of an AI influencer, so to speak. I also think we're going to see a whole lot of legislation come out this year about requiring disclosures of AI. We're already seeing some of that talk right now. Every major platform is going to roll out, you have to disclose it was created by AI. In this case, I think it could actually work to his favor because HeyGen is not overly convincing that it's not real. Some of the hand gestures, to me, to my eye, I can tell it's totally fake. It's getting better and better, and I don't mean to dismiss its quality, but I think disclosing that it's AI removes the possibility of somebody feeling tricked down the road. And so I think that he can just lean into the fact that, I'm just doing this as a courtesy of creating more content to answer more specific questions and scale so you can get what you need on the internet. I think that YouTube's going to probably have arms wide open for it. It just makes their search engine more valuable because they have more content to address searches. I think that the idea of just using ChatGPT, I think, Katie, you were talking about this. There's a good way to use ChatGPT, and then there's a really good way to use ChatGPT. The really good way to use it is to enrich it with some context, give it some data, give it some samples of your writing so it can write like you, sound like you. There's ways to instruct it where it doesn't sound like it was written by AI. For example, if you asked your assistant to say, hey, write my email newsletter, your assistant's going to inject their own personality into that writing and you can't stop it. And AI is going to inject its own personality into your writing and you can't stop it unless you instruct it otherwise. But yeah, I think the idea of, I've been teaching similar strategies in AI Marketing Academy. Write the scripts, either use HeyGen, or if you don't want to use HeyGen, use eye contact correction. Read a teleprompter and then use like a Captions AI kind of tool or Descript, and it will move your eyes to look straight at the camera. And that's a real video with you reading a script that's perfect. It's still way more efficient. I like it.
Well, and you have to look at 2023, Will Smith eating spaghetti, which is the AI, like one of the early
you just
AI.
Have to look at that, Tim. You have
right?
to.
you have to, because that was 2023. And then you look at what AI video looks like now in 2024. And so when I look at HeyGen, I look at what Malcolm's doing. I don't think it'll do well because it's just not there yet. But I think it's going to be here in like 6 months, right? Like it's gonna be here in 2025.
I think it depends on what the videos are about.
The other thing that I said is I was like, I think that so the entire premise is like, okay, then I'm generating leads for the entire state. I'm referring them out to agents in other areas and I'm generating this referral-based business. I was like, you should identify the agents now that are creating video, but maybe not at the level that they could be, and partner with them to go get your B-roll in those areas, you know, in the neighborhood.
That's smart.
And then you have this agent relationship where it's like, oh, I know Jason lives in Nashville and he got me a bunch of B-roll, and any referrals that I get for his neighborhood in Nashville, he gets, you know, the referral kind of thing.
I think he's going to have to go after really granular searches, long tail searches, Tim, as well, because I think if he goes after broad topics where there's a lot of competition compared to the real thing, I think people will struggle to give their attention to it. But if he creates content that nobody else is creating because they lack the ability to scale like him and goes after incredibly niche questions where there is no competition, I think he could really amass some success.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, with the amount of time that we spend on with our agents on YouTube, trying to get them to like talk to the camera the right way that engages the audience and pulls people in and all that fun stuff. I like I said, I don't think it's there yet in 24, but with how fast it's progressing, I believe, you'll be able to put into HeyGen and say, hey, have me speak in a more captivating way that's going to pull viewers in. I'm sorry, I think that's going to come in 25, maybe 26.
Okay.
But in 24, it's still a little flat. I don't think it works, but I think it's going to work pretty quickly. And I do think Malcolm and people that are doing this now will be further ahead since they're already doing it. They're going to be able to adapt and improve much faster than everybody else.
So I think that what he's doing is probably something that's like people could try it, but like he's already doing it and adapting and improving and doing all of these things that like he'll be ahead of everyone. If you were a real estate agent today, what would be like the top 3 uses for AI? Because like, you know, there are so many cool things. There's so many like, you know, but like if people aren't creating video
related to video or just in general,
or just related to video to some extent, but like in their business. Cause like, you know, you mentioned, you know, the AI generated video for B-roll and these different things. And it's like, you know.
Yeah. So top 3 uses, this is a broad use, but this is the most applicable use, is copywriting. Anywhere you're writing and you need to write better, that could be emails, that could be voicemail scripts, that could be texting scripts, that could be video scripts. Anywhere you need to improve your writing, AI is certainly going to give you an edge. If you instruct it properly, you're changing to a new modality where instead of it's a collaborator, you're telling it how you want it written and then let it improve the writing. I think writing is the obvious. I mean, I have to answer the obvious first. That's the obvious. That lends itself to like, hey, I want to go to my website and enrich it with the right keywords. Rewrite my homepage with all these keywords so that when people go looking for a local realtor in my marketplace, I've got some context for Google to consider. We do know that when it comes to local search, Google is still absolutely crushing on local search and getting discovered that way. So I think anything that involves writing is an obvious use case. I think streamlining the editing process for videos is an obvious use case. Editing video is tedious. I'm not suggesting you should get rid of the videographer, but I've already reduced my dependency on a videographer by a order of measure because I've been using CapCut and Descript and other tools that just streamline the process. It's just never been easier with these types of tools. And then a third use case for AI, I'm thinking, I'll go with, I think it's useful for research. I think if you're gathering data, maybe you're analyzing MLS data, maybe you're analyzing your own email marketing performance on tools like ChatGPT, you have the ability to drop in data. You can load a spreadsheet up, you can put PDFs in, all kinds of resources, and then query those resources based upon your prompts. And so you can just get all kinds of understanding. Tim, you talked about just searching ChatGPT instead of searching the internet. You're going to find that at times ChatGPT doesn't know the answer, and it will use its search function powered by Bing. It's trained on data up and through like the end of 2023, roughly. And so it doesn't always know like common information that's current, but it has the ability to go get it because Microsoft bankrolled them so much. So I think those are the most obvious use cases for a new agent. Those are a little abstract. No comments. Wow. I really left just wow.
No, I like it because I think that like having a wide range, like your response being a wide range of things is cool, because if you were just like, here are the 3 video things that you should do, you know, it's like, here are things that you can do to better analyze the data, to write better. It's interesting because like, you know, we use it to respond to reviews and different stuff like that. That's like, so as we've like trained the different conversations, it's like, now I just drop the review in and it pops me out like almost exactly what I want. There's no like, hey, this is what I'd rather say, or, hey, remove this word or whatever. Like it knows now. And that's,
are you doing that manually, or do you have a Zap setup or something?
I do it manually. I know that you can set up a Zap or have the custom GPT, but I want to make sure that, because sometimes it's not a positive review, or sometimes there's something that we want to remove or whatever. So there are some things that I zap and I'm fully cool with technology doing the thing, but there are some things where it's like, I need to have the manual approve button and I will be the bottleneck. Versus just letting it run, because we've talked about that before.
You also have, again, in my 24 to 25 conversation, in 24, AI churned out a lot of great results that you had to then go through and tweak and improve and make sure they weren't wrong. And I see myself correcting my AI less and less as time goes on, and so it's going to be interesting to see if in 25 or 26, Katie, that you feel totally comfortable just zapping stuff over because AI is at like 99% accuracy and you're not worried about the 1%.
Some of the zaps that are available in Zapier are just ridiculous. The integrations. I mean, I was messing around yesterday with just some of the integrations and I'm like, man, you can do some really fun stuff with these.
Well, let's dig into like tactically. What do you think? Give me some good stuff that you think agents could use some zaps and whatnot for.
Well, so one of them is, in case they don't know what Zapier is, Zapier offers what are called zaps. Basically, they operate by webhooks where something happens on Dropbox, which triggers this Zapier connection to Google Sheets, and it performs an action between two different distinct softwares. And you can connect OpenAI. You'll need an API key. That's a little bit technical. You might have to switch over to an enterprise account to be able to use that API.
You might have to ask ChatGPT how to do this.
And they provide all the language on it, and there's going to be some new terminology. For example, you might have noticed the term tokens is used a lot in the world of generative AI, and you're paying for tokens. Tokens basically represent about 3/4 of a word. So you're paying for word count is what you're paying for. And so like 75% of a word on average is one token. And so like if it's 3,000 words or 2,000 words, it's really like 1,500 tokens on average. And so you'll learn the language. I don't know why I'm telling you this. You don't need to know this. You can Google that. Some of the use cases, so just for example, what I was messing around with yesterday, I was connecting Zoom because I do a lot of coaching through Zoom. And I was taking my transcripts and then connecting them to OpenAI because it can perform sentiment analysis. So I can listen back to all of my coaching calls. And then I was connecting the sentiment analysis to a Google Sheet because I have a Google Sheet dashboard for my coaching calls. And so I pull up my coaching client and it can tell me the sentiment on the last call was this based upon analysis. So I was like, that was pretty neat. That was pretty fun to build out.
So a team leader could take the recording of their phone calls they have in Follow-Up Boss, zap them over to ChatGPT and start getting analysis on how their agents are handling phone calls.
They could. There's actually software. So there's already prop tech software that does this. So like Shiloh AI is a prop tech and property tech that does that exactly. They have all your call recordings. They integrate with FUB and they analyze through AI, and he uses a bunch of large language models. He uses Llama, he uses OpenAI, he uses Claude, all of them, and they analyze it and give insights back. So that's a technology that's already happening. We're seeing you could do it manually, or there are tools that do it at scale with pretty charts and graphs and stuff. That's definitely a use case. I think getting sentiment. I think being able to connect it to your Google Business Profile. You could get sentiment on your Google Business reviews that way through a Zap because Google Business Profile connects to Zapier, and then you can connect your OpenAI to that and then have a spreadsheet if you wanted to, and then just start looking for trends. I think data analysis is the most obvious use case for using OpenAI's API with Zapier. Anyway, I'm just really kicking the can down the road on that in terms of applications. But there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah. I mean, leads coming in and all sorts of different stuff that you could do. The thing I want to talk about too is like, where do you see AI going in 25? For me, again, I think 24 was the year that a lot of us started using ChatGPT as our assistant. We have started like to dabble a little bit in, I'm sure behind the scenes at Tom Ferry, I'm sure that organization is using it at a pretty high level. Where do you see it going in 25?
I think your prediction is pretty solid of a little bit more autonomy. I can take the leash off a little bit, let it roam free and take over specific operations. I think that's one. I think we're going to see a lot of everybody does the same things in 2025. It's kind of like a moonshot race. We're all trying to get to the same target. What I've even noticed in the past, couple of weeks is, oh, look, ChatGPT just released this descript function. And look, Captions AI just did this CapCut function. They're all competing over the same functionality. So I think we're going to see like not a narrowing, but a flattening of the tools where they all do sort of the same thing. And so right now you got a lot of people using this tool for this and this tool for that and this tool for that. And we have this whole suite of AI tools for video and stuff. And I think that we'll see all of them sort of like, I like that one. I'm in on that one. I use Hulu. I use YouTube TV. I don't need both. It's going to be a lot more like that.
Well, I also think, we've started to use it a lot in our own businesses, and it's become our assistant for us. Tom released his, bot or whatever, his AI. Yeah. And now you're seeing it in like this B2B kind of scenario. Cause even though Tom has a bunch of clients, it is kind of B2B, Yeah. I think by the end of 25, my prediction is we're going to see a lot more people using AI with the consumer and letting the AI be the consumer's assistant. And so
I think that goes back to your point about autonomy, where you're willing to trust it with your customers more and more.
Yeah,
I agree.
We'll see.
So I think that happens. I think that starts to get significance probably toward the end of the year, if I had to guess. And then on your point, Jason, I think you're right. Like I go on ChatGPT and I have to like click up to Dolly to make an image. And I do think you're going to start to see more and more of these platforms just consolidate, where I just go on to whatever my one platform is and say, hey, I need to edit this video. And it does it. Hey, I need to create this image, and it does it. And right now, we're in this early phase where everything is so scattered. And I wrote down VO for video, and like there's this other one that's good at this, and there's Notebook LM that's good for this podcast thing, and like it's all over the place. And people listening to this probably are saying, "There's no way I can remember all." Like I'm not going to remember all of these different tools. But as it consolidates, I'm just going to go into my one little
and it's going to do 80% of the stuff you need done.
Or voice. And I'm going to say, hey, I need you to make a podcast with a male host and a female host. And they're going to talk about this. And it's just going to do it because they'll all be.
And that's, it's already happening. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
You need to go look at the HeyGen feature, because Notebook LM is more for learning. You can send out the recording, the podcast to people, but it's more for learning. Gen FM, which is 11 Labs product, is also more for learning and just casual listening. And it's got a nice app. So it's like if you're in the car and you want to listen to podcasts, you're basically listening to generative AI podcast. But HeyGen is targeting the idea of making content, of using it to make content and multiply your content. I think
if I wanted to make the fake podcast, though, what's the best one to make the fake podcast?
They're all pretty even. It depends on if you want video or not. If you want video, you have one choice. You have HeyGen. As far as I know, you have no choice.
I think I'm going to make some funny fake podcasts.
I would test Notebook LM and Gen FM and see what you think. I think Notebook LM is going to be easier to share if you want to publish the podcast in some way or some way.
Yeah. But I mean, think about it. And I'm just spitballing here, but like a client closes the house and maybe I had fun with them. Maybe they were a fun crew. And then like I send them a podcast breaking down all the funny stuff that happened in the house and like little things that we learned about them. And they're listening to these two people talk about like, oh yeah, Jen and Jeff just closed on. Did you hear? Jen and Jeff just closed on their house. Yeah. Weren't they big soccer fans or something?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like wouldn't that be kind of a funny thing to send to
Absolutely.
a client?
And some people report that Notebook LM is a little bit more grounded, where it stays only on your content, whatever you feed it. It doesn't really deviate beyond that content. I guess I'm going to give the answer. I think Notebook LM is probably better because we know that Gemini is going to be involved in the large language model. And I think that it's going to be pretty good. I know it's pretty good. I've done it.
I'm going to mess around with it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Have fun. It's free, or at least, like all things.
For now.
Actually, yeah. Anyways, yeah. It's moving fast. I think right now, somebody who's listening or watching this podcast should be thinking about maybe what I need to commit to is some level of learning when it comes to AI and just exposure to what's possible. Because what's going to happen is we're going to go through, we're in a warp speed moment right now. And if you're not paying attention to the change now, in a year from now, you're going to be in a completely foreign area that's going to seem unfamiliar to you. And this is the chance to really get, I think, involved and see what's happening. I don't think that there's always a commercially viable use case for all the AI tools, but I think you have to look at them and say, well, where are they trying to go with this? How could that be applied down the road? And then I could use that for B-roll. And you start seeing where generative video starts to come in handy. I would just be open-minded to what's happening and learning.
And just like we've been saying for a while, we've said it all year, which is like, just get in there and mess around with it. Like just start asking ChatGPT questions and you start to get a much better idea of how you could use it in your business. Same thing goes for this stuff. I think like you just got to get in there and start playing around with some of these tools and the ideas and creative stuff will start coming to you.
Oh, and then all of a sudden you'll start thinking, I wonder if it could. So like yesterday, for example, I was working with a coaching client We were trying to, when it's outside of office hours, they use an offsite service to answer their phone calls for floor duty. They get a lot of inbound calls. And some of those leads weren't getting inputted into their system, Follow-Up Boss, and they were missing opportunities. And so we created a process where, hey, like, let's just have them submit a Google form, and that Google form will automatically fill into a spreadsheet that we created zaps that would allow it to connect to Follow-Up Boss and integrate the lead automatically. But the form would standardize the intake of the lead. And then the concern was, well, what if they don't have the same level of consistency in how they name, like they only do a first name or they don't do the full information. And I was like, well, I know that Google Forms has what is called response validation. So I can actually put some language in there that says it has to be this, it can't be that. But I didn't know how to write the code for it. So I just went to ChatGPT. I was like, hey, I need some regular expression code that I can just copy and paste for a Google form that makes it have to be a first name and a last name. It needs to be title case. And it needs to, like, if it has the third or junior or something like that, it needs to be able to account for that. And it was like, here. And then it was a long chunk of code. I don't know what any of it meant. Copy, paste, done. And it worked like a charm. And so the more you're using these tools, the more you start to think, I wonder if this could do that. I wonder if ChatGPT could figure that out.
And what you just said sounds complicated because you're copy and pasting code. And so a lot of the audience is just listening to that and saying, no idea what he's talking about. But again, I go back to, like, the more you just ask ChatGPT, how do you copy paste code and put it into something, you know?
Well, imagine saying to ChatGPT, hey, I use a WordPress website, and for the life of me, I can't figure out how to make the header image text bigger.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how to do that? Yes. Can you give me the code to do that? Yes. And so all this, a lot of people have just had this wall up of, oh, if it involves code, I can't do it. And what I'm realizing is you have the code. It's going to print it off for you whenever you need it. I mean, it fixes spreadsheets, it fixes CSS, it fixes HTML. It can handle, my brothers are both web developers. They're in there all the time using ChatGPT and Claude to work through code and debug it and fix it and improve it and so forth. It's a collaborative effort. I'm not saying it to be.
No, I'm a little bit of a mind blown moment. It's just interesting because it's like what you're saying, especially with, like, you know, answering leads and standardizing how they get put into the system and different stuff like that. Like, I mean, I just think, like, super elementary level, like, we have a Google form that our agents fill out at an open house. When, you know, you come in, they leave, they type in Jason Pantana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phone number, Jason Pantana at jasonpantana.com, like all of the things. And then when they hit submit, all of the zaps in the background pushed it into Follow-Up Boss, and it puts them on a drip campaign and does all of the things that, like, you know, right. But it's like, there's other ways that it could be done, right?
You can enrich it with a tool like OpenAI can do that.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's just getting me thinking. Sorry, guys. I'm thinking.
It's not as new. It's my framework for AI is more, faster, better. Not new. Faster, better. And that's what it is.
Just tweaking it a little bit. I like it.
All right, let's like try to dig down, because there's so many big ideas floating around with AI. Like, totally. If an agent was going to implement something in their business today using AI, what is like a one piece of this big Lego thing that we're building that you think agents could implement?
What assumptions can be made about this agent?
I mean, they're a regular agent. They're not a regular. Nobody's regular. You're all special. Okay. They're a special agent, and they're just out there doing business. Like, they're out there, you know, helping buyers, helping sellers, and they've got some time to work on their business, but they're not, like, feeling like they got a ton of time to work on their business. They're listening to this podcast. They are listening to all these ideas, and they don't know where to start. Like, what's one thing you would say they could implement just to kind of get down this road of building things out with AI?
It's a 1-2 punch. I would use probably ChatGPT to help you write better video scripts. And I would use Captions AI to film those videos. And what's so convenient about Captions AI is it has a teleprompter built into the app. And then when you're done recording your video, so you just copy and paste the script that ChatGPT helps you write into the teleprompter section of Captions AI. And then you read your script while you're recording it. Try to smile when you're doing it. And then what it does is, after the fact, you just hit one button that says eye contact correction. And Captions AI will analyze every frame of your video. A video is a motion picture, so it's frame by frame by frame, 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second. It will analyze your eyes, and it will determine where they should have been looking had they been looking at the camera. If you were smiling, if you were big-eyed, if you were whatever your facial expression might have been, it analyzes the context of the pixels, and it will just move your eyes. It takes about 60 seconds per video. And it's $10 a month. And I'm imagining for an agent who's on the go, they recognize that video is the media of the day, but it's also highly competitive right now. So what you need to be doing is creating crafted videos that address the needs and wants of your audience so you can supply what it is they're looking for. And you need to do more of it, do it faster, do it better. And that's where a tool like ChatGPT can help you write a better script. Captions AI can help you execute on that script quickly so you can be pumping out videos like crazy. Heck, the video that I just published today was a Captions AI eye contact correction video. I was in my Jeep, filmed a quick video, had a script, got it done. I think time is a massive struggle for a lot of agents because they're on the go. And this is a way to make video creation more efficient for them.
So you're starting with video creation. It's very REVB of you.
I like to bring this whole thing full circle.
Way to be on brand.
Question for you. Stands for?
When you were shooting your video in your Jeep, did you also have your duck in the Jeep?
I did. I had my duck sitting right beside the camera. Thanks and courtesy to Tim Macy, a fellow Jeep owner. My duck was sitting right next to it. Yeah.
How many ducks do you have?
I don't want to admit it.
The one. Just one.
Two. I got another one. I have two now.
Nice.
Tim ducks Jason for the first time.
Well, I found out Jason drives a Jeep and didn't have a duck, and so
nobody
I went
likes
on Amazon.
I
got like a cool one. It's got sunglasses and a gold chain.
It is definitely a cool duck. It is.
Well, have you ducked anyone else, Jason? Maybe it's.
I know you got to get more. I know. It's reciprocity, Katie.
Yeah, you got to put out in the world.
Jason hasn't been ducking anybody. Oh,
you need to duck more, and then hopefully you'll get ducked back.
Yeah, I'm a narcissist.
You could just duck yourself too, you know.
Thank you, Katie.
All right. Well, hey, Katie, I guess we have something else to talk about. Maybe a little bit of an announcement that maybe people listening to the podcast don't
Drum roll, please.
I don't have that effect on my
You know. You get.
What's your announcement?
Who's announcing?
Oh, Jason Pantana is going to be at REVB this year.
Woo! Can you soundboard that?
You have sound effects. Do you hear that?
Yes.
It worked. Okay, good. It worked.
So, and Jason never like sells his stuff, but I'll sell his stuff. Jason has the AI Marketing Academy. I haven't done it, but everybody that I've known I need to. Everybody that's been on it has had great things to say about it, which is unheard of when it comes to a real estate training, because all I ever hear is people complain about stuff. He's got a ton of amazing things in there. And we're going to be packaging up kind of like a special REVB workshop talk on AI for video at REVB. And yeah, excited for it. It's going to be a good time.
REVB is one of the events where I just love to pour myself into creating the content for it. Custom, never done before. And the idea of specifically looking at AI through the lens of video, that's just I'm excited about building out this content. It's going to be fun.
We are too. Well, we appreciate you, everything you do for Katie and I, because you are Katie and I's real estate coach, and yeah, everything else you do for the industry.
I'm grateful for both of you. Thanks for having me on today.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.